Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the cabover. All right, today the goal is to try to get this doghouse built over this engine and get this thing done. I'm so close to having the floor finished, so I'd like to just get this over with. I really don't anticipating this being too much of a headache, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. The only tricky part will be this back piece here, the framework for this back here, because the cab is curved just slightly. Because I don't need much of a bend in this thing, I just took one of the legs for my engine hoist and I clamped it on the frame, and I'm just going to try to bend it over the tire just to give myself a little arc. Again, it doesn't have to be bent very much, just a tiny bit. So I'm going to see if this works. This is attempt number one, I guess. Oh, it's working. Yeah, that worked. You can see it there. All right, let's see if that worked. Oh yeah, that'll work perfectly. Yep, close enough anyway. That looks great. All right, I'm gonna cut this one to length and I'm gonna do one more. Plenty long enough, and that is close enough. That looks good. That'll be just fine. Try to duplicate this as best I can. That looks pretty close. I feel like it needs to go a little bit more. Tiny bit. Still more. There we go. That's good there. First tube in place here. None of this is going to be really like, yeah, pretty, but it'll be very functional. All right, so I've got a gap up there that I'm not happy with, and if I try to pull this against it, it's not going to lay flat and it wants to warp. So if I try to push this thing, it's not going to want to lay. I don't think I'll be able to get it to lay flat up against that. All right, I'm going to mess with this. I'm fighting a couple different angles. I mean, this is vertical, but then the cab slopes in and it's curved. So I'm trying to put a square peg in a round hole, if you will, here. Okay guys, what I ended up doing here was I just took these and beat them back to lean them back a little bit. And then I went ahead and took care of the gap along the cab. So now that tube is pushed up against the cab, and that's gonna weld up really nice. That shouldn't warp on me, that should be okay. Now that we got that in place, I can take the other bent tube now and we can put this right on top. This will be the cover, so we can start building the other structure right off of this. Oops. What in the world did I do there? Apparently, I can't read a tape measure. 26, not 28. Dope. That's better. This can go up here, like so. This. All right, that's gonna be the tricky part. This magnet. There we go. never did think about how I was gonna seal that. So I'm gonna have a seal on the bottom. I'm gonna have a seal under this. So this edge right here needs to be sealed on that vertical, and then when I put it on, I can push it back, lock it in. Just a little piece of weather stripping. So I need to pull this forward so it's even. That way I can account for the seal. I got this thing mostly tacked up here, and as you can see, got the main frame done anyway. I'm gonna throw the seat in here real quick just to make sure that I am good to go. Double check before I get froggy with the welder and burn this thing together. Nope, it's not gonna fit. That thing's way off. Okay, well. All right, well, I guess I'm glad I checked. Oh, man. Well, this seat's got to go up another inch, but even still. All right, yeah, even with the seat up on the 1-inch shim here, it clears in the back there. But obviously, it doesn't work up here. I think what I'll do is I'll just slope this down at an angle. I'll leave the back of it alone, and I'll cut these out, and then I'll drop this down. Well, I guess that's why we tack weld stuff together and do mock-up. Put the seat where it belongs. Now I can just lift this thing up, give myself a little clearance. Yeah, let's remeasure that. I'll just cut 2 at 3 and I think we'll be all right. Redo. It is what it is. Well, there we go. Now I got clearance. I've got about 1 inch there, so I think that's gonna be just fine. Now that just gives it a little taper, kind of downhill, I guess. Wasn't my original plan, but it is now. Yeah. At least unclamp it. See how we're doing here. Hopefully I didn't weld it to the floor. We're good. Now the fun part is I gotta sheet metal this thing. Let's see here. See what we got going on here. Front, this is the bottom. Looks good to me. Front edge is good. Gotta cut this one here. Going pretty quick. I just got to do the front edge real quick, and I think we're in good shape. Just like that, one engine doghouse. Looks pretty good, pretty happy with it. Now the fun part is I just got to weld all these seams up. All right guys, next day here. I got the welder turned up to 11, so let's see what happens here. So far so good. That's gonna work out good. Okie doke, guys, there she is. Completed enough anyway. At the corners are good and crisp. Looks pretty good. Well, that was a big step to get that done. Is it perfect? Nope. Is it good enough to stick some carpet to? Absolutely. That's all that really matters. It'll be good enough for this thing. Here is the plan for the cover and the seal. I've got some 2'8" flat stock, and I'm going to weld these on the inside right here like this. So with this welded on here, it'll stick up 1 inch, and then that'll slide down on the inside of the main frame of the floor, and then that seal will sit in here and kind of hopefully hold it in place as best it can anyway. All right, that should be good enough to go fit it. All right, let's try this again. Here we go. Oh yeah, I dropped in there perfectly. Awesome. And now it's locked in there, so it can't move. All right, guys, I'm ready to test fit this thing for the final time. I just spent, I don't know, about the better part of an hour here. I finished welding up all the seams on the floor on both sides, and then I welded up these joints here to the cab. I had a whole bunch of tack welds in here that I had to grind on the inside. I think what I might do back here is I want to keep this open, and then I think the flatbed is going to end up somewhere right in here. I think what I might do is I might make a piece of expanded metal that'll go across here, so that way the airflow can still evacuate out the back of the cab, but it'll kind of fill that in a little bit. So I'm thinking about that. One thing I did fail to mention on this thing as well, as far as the sleeper is concerned, is I decided to hold off on the sleeper right now. I want to speed the process up with getting this thing on the road, and I don't want to waste a whole bunch of weeks basically, or, you know, because I have limited time when I can work on this thing, and I don't want to waste a ton of time building a sleeper for this truck. This truck is basically just going to turn into a utility truck for me. I want to use the heck out of this thing. I want it practical, and also if I want to put my Maverick on the back of this thing, I need as much bed space as I can get. The sleeper is not going to allow me to do that. It's going to take up too much space. All right, I got this stuff all welded on here, so this is all done. This thing is definitely got some weight to it. It wasn't too bad at first, but now that I've got everything welded to it, it definitely is getting heavier. And it's still not insulated yet either. Well, it definitely got tighter since I welded everything up, so I might have to do some trimming and do some other detail work here, but let me see. Oh, okay, it's hitting in the back corners back here because I welded these seams up. This sheet metal was kind of poking out, so I'm gonna have to pull it back out and fix that real quick. All right, let's see if that's better. Yeah, that feels better. I think we're just about there. Well, I could go a little more even. All right, one more time. There we go. That's it right there. Now it's got just a tiny bit of float, so that's good. Plenty of room around the back, so yeah, we're good. Got plenty of room around there, looks good. Just off the back of the cab, just slightly. All right, now I'm gonna figure out some kind of anchoring system, I guess. Okay guys, been messing with this thing here. I made up some tabs and welded those, 4 of them, on the sides of the box here. Then I went down to the hardware store. They had this rubber seal here that's a stick-on deal. So I'm gonna see how that works for now. I wanna order some good 3M weather stripping, but this stuff actually is not too bad, and it's supposed to be waterproof and, you know, automotive type use. I just drilled the holes in the floor for where I'm gonna have the bolts go through, so I'll figure that out here. I'm gonna have to weld nuts on the bottom side. All right. There it goes. That fits good. All right, and everything over here looks good. Shimmed it up off of the deck just a little bit. I do want this thing to pull down to compress that seal just a little bit. And then later, once I figure out what I'm gonna do floor-wise, I may have to cut this off and adjust it, but we'll see. I'll play with that later. But for right now, I just wanted to get those on there. All right, guys, I got this thing bolted down. Looks really good, turned out good. I just welded some nuts on the bottom side. And then in the rear, I just put a plate in on here, welded a nut to a piece of flat plate, welded that to the floor. So now it's sucked all the way down and it is sealing all the way around. It looks really good. So now the one thing I do have to fix where I kind of screwed this up was this gap right here, because there needs to be a seal on this vertical part, because this part here I had to kick back to match the cab angle. And I didn't account for that when I welded this in. So I got to fix this. I'm just gonna go ahead and mark it and cut an angle on it, and I'll just cut it out, and then I'll put a piece of flat plate and fill it in. Put a piece of rubber on this piece here, and then this will push up against it and it'll seal that, hopefully. Other than that, I think it turned out really good. I'm happy with it. I've only got 4 clamps on it. I don't think I'm gonna need one in the front. Everything feels really good, feels solid. So I guess at this point, we're just gonna call the doghouse done. All right, so probably next up will be the throttle. That's gonna be a little bit of work because I gotta make a custom bracket for that. And then the parking brake, and then the transmission shifter as well. I got to figure that out. So we'll do that in the next video. This video ended up just kind of running a little bit longer than I wanted. All right, guys, well, I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more. Again, just keep plugging away at this thing little by little. Don't forget, please subscribe if you don't mind. I'll just keep pumping out videos as much as I can. You know, with the holidays coming up, probably things are going to slow down a little bit for me. But anyway, all right, guys, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Have a great day.